Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another Spirit Review. I think I'm more excited about this one than I was for the Bottled and Bond. And although I enjoy dressing up for it, this one, just how it ties into my favorite spirit and your favorite spirit is unique.
Spoiler alert, it's not the same spirit.
No, no, it's not. Let's go ahead and show what we're talking about today.
It's Scotch!
With rum. Well, maybe sort of, kind of. Maybe not so much rum added into it, but we'll talk about exactly what it is. So this is the Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve. And I know you are a big Scotch person. This is considered Scotch.
Yes.
So tell us why Scotch. Tell us a little bit about Scotch.
Oh, it's that whole whiskey versus whiskey debate. You have all these different whiskeys from all these different countries, and they all have different rules. In order for a bourbon to be a bourbon, it has to be at least 51% corn in the mash. And Scotch has a similar set of rules. It still comes from grain, and you still taste the grains, so that makes it a whiskey. Now, Scotch whiskey has to be distilled in Scotland. It has to be aged in oak barrels for at least 3 years.
Okay.
And then typically it's going to be 100% malted barley. Now, if it's a single malt, it has to be 100% malted barley. So right there you have a completely different flavor profile between Scotch and other whiskeys like bourbon, just in the mash.
Okay.
With that, we've got 5 different primary regions of Scotland where Scotch is made. And they are all Scotches, but even within those different regions, they have completely different flavor profiles. So if you grab a Scotch from Campbell, it's going to taste a little different than a Scotch from Eastleigh or the Lowlands, Highlands, and then a subset of the Highlands, we have Speyside, which is where we get Glenlivet.
Okay. And this, I think because of the rum piece of it, it made me really curious before. I've never looked up the history of Glenlivet before. And I think it may be one of my favorite thus far that I've actually done looking into. And before I kind of go into some of the history with this, rum actually isn't in this. A portion of their whiskey is aged in
Rum casks.
rum casks.
So that's part of what sets Scotches aside from other whiskeys is they will impart other smoother flavor profiles into their Scotch by taking their Scotch out of the oak barrel after it's aged for at least 3 years and finish it in other alcohol barrels. So they'll use sherry or port wine barrels. They'll use rum casks and even American bourbon barrels.
Okay. This was pretty interesting because Glenlivet, or the Glenlivet, started in 1822. So George Smith, tucked away in the hills where the natural springs were, the best place for those that do their illegal distilling, because it was illegal at that point in time. And August of that year, fantastic month by the way, King George IV came to Scotland, and amongst many other things that he was doing there, one of his requests was to have a drop of the infamous Glenlivet whiskey.
Infamous.
Infamous, yes.
Guess illegal.
Definitely illegal. But he's the king, so of course they're going to hook him up with whatever he requests.
It's good to be the king.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you fast forward 2 years from that point, and legislation had changed. It wasn't necessarily all illegal. They gave a path to become legal.
Yeah. Probably
And
because the whiskey was so tasty.
probably so. Absolutely. Those in higher places wanted it. So, old George, not King George, but George Smith, saw his opportunity to jump on that path, went to the nearest town, completed the requirements to be licensed as the first legal distiller there. This did not grow a fan base for him. The other distillers that continued to want to do it their way out of the government reach, they were very unhappy with him, and they flat out told him, "You're going to burn along with your distillery." Some pretty tough words, but George wasn't having it. So he actually carried 2 flintlock pistols around with him all the time to make it clear that he was not one to be messed with. I love that. Man had a focus, he had a goal, and he was not going to be swayed from it. So fast forward 15 years from that point, and the company was doing so well that they were producing 200 gallons a week. At that point, you do what many companies that want to continue to expand will do. They're going to hire sales. So they hired a couple of sales agents. They pushed the brand out even further, and it became really well known with some higher well-known stars, authors that then pushed the name out to the people that they knew. When all of this was going on, family was at the center of the Glenlivet, and it was demonstrated by when George actually passed in 1871, his son was doing studies to be a lawyer. He quit his studies and he went to the company, picked up the reins of his dad. Awesome. That training actually worked out in his favor, because not too long from that point, there was a vicious fight amongst the name Glenlivet. So he used that legal training that he had to fight for the rights to be given the authority that they are the one and only Glenlivet. No one else can use that name. Do you know where or what Glenlivet even means?
I know it's centered around a river.
It is. So Livet is the river, and Glen? Who's Glen? What is Glen?
Oh, it's not a who.
Is it a what?
Yeah, it's kind of like a where.
It's a where?
Almost.
So what?
Exactly.
So Glen is a valley, and Livet is the river that runs through it.
This explains why everyone was fighting over the name. All the local distilleries would probably sit there and go, well, I'm in the Glen and I'm on the River Livet.
Yeah, absolutely. You ready to go ahead and have some of this?
Yes. A wee dram.
A wee drab.
Dram.
I say drab. All right.
So the neat thing about these different regions and the flavor profiles is based on the region of where the whiskey was distilled, you get an understanding of how it's going to taste. So what do you think?
I'm smelling the rum. I'm smelling the fruit.
Does it smell like a tropical island?
It takes me back to some really good memories of the Caribbean islands. It does not smell like your typical Scotch that I'm just not drawn to. This smells really, really good. Very fruity.
All right. Taste it.
Whoa. Are we not going to cheers first?
To a job well done.
All right. Damn. That's delicious.
Isn't it?
Man, it is very, very good. So it's starting fruity, not fruity, like
Not like a
Fruit
Mai
Loops or
Tai?
something like that. No Mai Tai, none of that like that. But you do feel, or not feel, but you taste some of the tropical fruits there.
And with that sweetness that Spayside's known for as well. So it's not just fruit, but it's this nice sweet
Yeah,
flavor as well.
yeah. And it transitions very nicely to the barley end of it, and it just fades away very quickly. It doesn't hang on.
It definitely starts out almost like a rum and then finishes like a very light, sweet
Which is crazy.
Scotch.
It's crazy. Very, very good. Yes. I'm a fan. I'm definitely a fan of it now.
Yes! We found a Scotch you like. It's only a matter of time.
Very true. You did a great job. Great job on selecting this one. So, tell us, have you had the Caribbean Reserve from Glenlivet before? If you have, what were your thoughts or your comments? This one is a very budget-friendly, would you say, $30 to $40?
Definitely. It's on the lower end as far as price point of single malt scotches, but the flavor of it is definitely worth the buy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would easily go through this bottle pretty quickly and not feel bad about it. At $30 to $40 price point, very, very affordable. And it's just smooth, and it's definitely...
It does have that start like candy and then that just very light finish.
Light indeed. This is going to be a regular on the shelf.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a regular.
Yes.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.